Hi, this is Kiran Bhattacharya. I'm reading from my novel Reincarnation in the Holy Land, Part 2, Dolly Patel, Chapter 16. The events and the characters in this novel are fictional. The story so far. After spending 40 years in England, Bijon, a 60-year-old divorcee, is currently contemplating spending his retirement years in Calcutta, the city of his birth. 30 years ago, his wife had an abortion. This could have been averted had he been determined to save the baby. With hindsight, he believes that not only was that incident the reason for his marriage breakup, but it also played a major role in creating animosity between him and his son. Dolly was the first woman he had after his divorce. She was a family friend, twice married and divorced, and totally feminist. On her favorite topic, the discrimination and subjugation women had suffered over the centuries, she could hold her own more vociferously than the arch-feminist Germaine Greer. There was no denying that Dolly was an interesting character, and her being Asian, among the likes of Greer, Woolf, and Paglia, created a definite aura of glamour. Although her name was Patel, she was not a Hindu. Well, she was not really guided by any faith. That did not mean she had no faith in God. She was born a Jew, one of the black Jews of Malabar, though she herself was light-skinned. Her first husband was a Catholic and the second a Hindu, and she nimbly moved between the religions as and when the need arose. At Christmas she was an ardent Catholic. At Diwali she was a Hindu, and in Jewish New Year she offered sweets to all her friends. Many predicted that her next husband would be a Muslim or a Sikh, but those were her gloomy critics, who believed that she was hell-bent on experiencing men from different religions. Dolly had an attractive personality, and she was enthusiastic about various good causes, which most people with any degree of sanity would eagerly avoid. She had a son, Indranil, a polite teenager who diligently did his schoolwork, obeyed his mother, and to please her, refused to meet his father. That was the only conclusion any outsider could reach, because Indranil did not harbor any innate grudge against his old man. Soon after his divorce, he had a surprising telephone call from Dolly one afternoon, offering commiserations. Any man can tell you that to get through the trauma of divorce, one needs sympathy from a woman. That was exactly what Dolly offered. She came into his life like an angel. Dolly was good company, and whenever she invited him, a delicious Indian cuisine made the trip all the more worthwhile. Though heading towards the wrong side of 40, she was an attractive woman, stylishly dressed, who commanded the attention of many an eligible bachelor. New Year's Day is known to be the time when every divorcee longs for a relationship that will help him shun the loneliness of life. On New Year's Eve that year, the plan was for him to go to Dolly for a meal, and then the three of them, he, Dolly, and her son, would go to Trafalgar Square to celebrate the arrival of the new year. It was a cold evening but dry. Near Piccadilly Circus the road was absolutely chock-a-block with cars. Everyone was shouting, drinking beer from cans. The buzz of the place was absolutely electric. Finding a parking space, however, was well-nigh impossible, because every conceivable place, every nook and cranny was occupied by those crafty individuals who had had the foresight to arrive in good time. With midnight approaching, when they were getting more and more exasperating, it was Dolly who spotted in front of Veeraswamy's Indian restaurant a tiny space which was wide enough to squeeze in his BMW. When they hurried out of the car to join the revelers in the street, only a few minutes were left before Big Ben would strike the midnight hour to welcome another year, and with it the hope for prosperity, peace and joy. They did not have the time to walk to Trafalgar Square, nor was there any room to move that far. Under the statue of Eros, they found a little spot for themselves, and the new year approached with the din of cars hooting, people screaming, and men standing on the roof of their vehicles throwing streamers. A peck from Dolly after she had satisfied her son with a kiss was not a big deal, but it was her warm bosom on that cold night, which became more vocal with the passing of the hour, or at least that was how it felt in his imagination. The revelers were now returning from Trafalgar Square, and the jostling crowd squeezed Dolly close to him. They had to hold each other firmly, guarding Indranil, who was standing next to a wall. Some men, inebriated, offered their kisses indiscriminately to any woman who came their way. Refusing to participate in this effusiveness, Dolly asked him to dash for the car. The three of them moved along Regent Street. Only when they got in the car and were comfortably ensconced did she squeeze his hand to thank him. To celebrate the New Year properly, let's all give each other a kiss, suggested Dolly, to which Indranil was less than enthusiastic. When even a nod of recognition to his mother's new friend was not forthcoming, Dolly had to show her son the way. But Indranil, static as a stone, left no doubt in anyone's mind that that was as good as it was going to get on New Year's Eve. Thank you.